Hello Simmers, welcome back or welcome to my channel. Today we will be talking about making your own custom furniture in the game with game objects. Not CC, but just game objects. And today we won't be using any mods, and we will start with basic things, and I will put timestamps in this video. If you already know these things, you can skip forward. First, let's open the cheat bar with CTRL SHIFT C, then enter bb.moveobjects. Enter bb.showhiddenobjects, enter bb.showliveeditobjects. Now in build mode, click on the search bar and type in debug. I always click on like the second to last one, and then all your debug, show hidden objects, show live edit objects will pop up. If you're on console, you don't type in debug. I think you just leave the search field blank and then scroll all the way down. But if you're playing console, leave it in the comments. So a few quick notes on debug objects. Some of the trees and bushes from live edit objects may have weird shadow, so you might not want to use any of those. Some of the fruits or glasses may stink in a few days, so you may want to avoid those as well. A lot of the world edit objects will not be functional, like chairs, tables, benches, etc. And there are a few more issues as well. A couple of them I will mention later on in this video. It really is a trial and error process with debug items. If you don't use Twisted Mexie's Better Built By, which organizes debug, you can filter over here on the right for the packs. This makes it a little bit easier to search through debug since a lot of them don't have a name. Some do, but most don't. Now I'm going to put my mods back in. I took them out to do the beginning of this video, so if debug looks a little bit different, it's because I put Better Built By back in. Move Objects gives you the ability to place things closer together by overlapping another object's footprint. Understanding an object's footprint is important in making your own functional custom furniture. This first row of refrigerators I placed naturally with just the Move Objects cheat on and nothing else. The second row is made with Move Objects cheat on and after I pressed F5, which gives you quarter tile placement. The third row I placed while holding the Alt key. The Alt key gives you even more free range movement. You can rotate an object with either the comma key or the period key, but for free rotation you need to switch to the Sims 3 camera, which I highly recommend if you're a builder to just use this camera, get used to it, practice with it. And you can hold the Alt key and your left mouse button and rotate an object completely freely. With the Move Objects cheat, you can raise and lower objects with 9 and 0. The left and right brackets will allow you to make an object larger or smaller. You can also easily clone objects while toggling the object, holding Shift and clicking. You can usually raise an object 2 times and have it retain its functionality. Let's talk about playtesting. If you're not building purely for aesthetics, then you're going to want to playtest your builds. Have you ever built something, playtested it, and it worked the first time, but then you closed the game or left the lot, came back and it no longer worked? A very, very important step in playtesting is to leave the lot and come back and see if that object still retains its functionality. As you can see here, I just built this and I'm going to have this sim playtest it, and it works. But what happens when I leave the lot and come back? It no longer functions. And if it doesn't work for you, it's not going to work for anybody else. You can test these things out as you build them, and or you can test it all out after you complete the build. Always make sure you leave the lot and come back to the lot though, to make sure that everything functions as it should. When making your own custom bathroom sink, always playtest it by having your sim use the toilet first, as opposed to just washing hands in the sink. They are 2 separate commands, and if you don't test it with the toilet, often you'll find that the sim will go use another sink. This is also not related to the bug that came with high school years where they're just randomly using any sink anywhere to wash their hands. Using the grid is very useful when making your own custom objects. A general rule of combining objects is not to place another object over half of the original object's footprint. While there are always exceptions to this rule, for example with some debug objects, it's a good rule to keep in mind. When placing these two wall cabinets over the sink, I'm careful not to go over that half-mark threshold. It can take a couple of tries to get it right, but once you get the sweet spot, it will function. Combining this sink with this table will make a really nice custom sink. Unfortunately, it just won't work like this. To make this sink functional, you're going to have to raise this table from the level below. To do this, draw a basement, add some lights, and raise the table up with the 9 key until it's in the position you want it. This can take several tries, and I'll admit it's much easier with Tool Mod. And now, because the table's footprint is actually in the basement and not in the floor you're playing on, the sink will be functional. I only recommend raising objects from the basement to the first floor and not from the first floor to the second floor, because then when you're playing you're going to have these floating objects. Some objects' footprint may change when resized and affect the functionality of other objects. For example, this debug post, when resized, will now affect the functionality of all of the objects within its footprint. You could spend time making a custom shelf, and then when you playtest, the seat next to the shelf doesn't work, the refrigerator on the other side of the wall doesn't work, and so on. You could rearrange stuff or just keep these things in mind. Another note about debug objects is they're not always completed objects. The footprint of this fence tells me that Sims are going to be able to walk through this fence. This has both advantages and disadvantages. For example, I could place this fence in front of a counter and a Sim should still be able to prepare food on it. The disadvantage would be if I want to use it as a fence, I'm going to have to get creative with other objects to make it so Sims can't walk through the fence. These debug fences have a footprint across the whole fence. This usually means that the fence will work as a fence. However, there's always exceptions to these rules. This also means that you can't place it in front of a counter or a bathtub and have the object retain its functionality. There are several wall objects that can be used in front of another object and the original object still retains its functionality. Delete the wall to prevent snapping, and then you can draw it back. I have several tutorials about this on my tutorial playlist. Make sure to check that out. If you don't use Tool Mod or play on console, you can lower cabinets by placing a piece of foundation. Here I'm making a modern coffee table. Alt-place your cabinets onto the foundation piece, and as soon as you have them placed where you'd like, use the foundation slider and slide the foundation piece down into the ground to the height you want it at. Copy this piece and place it aside. Then take your hammer tool and delete the foundation. Delete the cabinets on the foundation piece you set aside, and then move that foundation underneath the cabinets that you sunk into the ground. You can either move the foundation piece or copy the foundation piece and move the coffee table to where you want it to be. Then just grab the arrow of the room that was created when you move the coffee table and pull it over. This will fix the floor, delete that room, and fix the ceiling above. With some objects, like half-tile wall cabinets, Sims will walk through them. To prevent this, I like to use an object like this debug stone slab. Now he'll route around the object instead of walking through it. I'm going to make a custom bed with 2 single beds. I'm also going to place the headboard of this bed into the wall to hide it because I'm going to make my own headboard. Use the grid and don't place the second bed over half of the first bed. There's a little bit of wiggle room here, so make sure you play test it. Note that your Sims cannot woohoo in this bed, but 2 Sims can sleep in this bed as long as they are able to route to both sides. Now I'll make my own custom headboard using this debug post from the base game and these lines in the wall from Eco Lifestyle. This video was just a general guide on tips on making your own functional custom furniture. Once you've made your own custom furniture for a while and are familiar with object footprints and how routing and things like that function, it becomes a lot easier and you can sort of look at something and know if it'll work or not. I hope you found this video helpful, and I will see you guys again soon. Thanks for watching. Bye.